Hey class, it's Professor Rourke here. So I had a few people ask a question about one of the questions that we had on 7.2. This was technically from the interactive assignment, but there were some similar questions on the homework, and I know these questions can be tricky. So I wanted to make a video to see if this would help us. So in 7.2, the big idea is that we are using the normal curve to try to either find the probability of something, so like the area under the curve, or vice versa. They give us the area under the curve, and we're supposed to find whatever the data point is. Okay, so those are kind of the two things that they ask us to do a lot of in chapter 7. So this particular question from the interactive assignment number 4 says, assume the random variable x is normally distributed with a mean of 55 and a standard deviation of 7. Find the sixth percentile. So whenever I see that something is normally distributed, I immediately think, okay, it's going to be have a normal curve, so it's going to be a bell-shaped curve. The mean is in the middle, which they give us is 55. And if we wanted to, we could add 3 standard deviations to the right and 3 standard deviations to the left, right? So for instance, we could say, all right, 55 plus 7 is, oh, it's hard, 62. So starting from the middle number is 55, then 62 would be the next number. And then I could add 7 again and say that that was 69. And I could add 7 again for the third standard deviation. And that would be 76. Whew, that was really hard. Okay, and now it's going to get worse because we're going to subtract them. Now, this part, finding all 7 numbers, you don't have to do this every time. Unless they specifically ask you to, but it can sort of just be helpful to set things up for how it's going to work. Okay, so again, I'm thinking we have a normal curve, we have a mean with standard deviation. Now, this question says to ask you to find the sixth percentile. Okay, so we talked a little bit in class about what this means, and the reason we talked about it so much in class is because it is vital, and it's also can be often tricky. So if you're in the sixth percentile or data points in the sixth percentile, remember that means that there would be 6% of the data would be to the left of you. So let's say I got the sixth percentile for my reading score, not ideal, right? But that means I would be 6% of the other test scores would be below my score, and then I guess technically 94% would be to the right. But we don't really need to worry about the 94% right now. We're just worried about the 6%. So they're telling us the sixth percentile, and again, this is the most important part, is that 0.06 would be the area to the left of whatever my data point is. And I'm being asked to find that data point. Okay, but again, it doesn't say all of that. All it says is assume the random variable x is normally distributed with a mean of 55 and a standard deviation of 7. Find the sixth percentile. So from sixth percentile, just seeing that alone, we have to remind ourselves, okay, they're actually telling me the area and they're asking me for what is the value on the bottom of the curve. Okay, so knowing that, again, you can think about what the curve would look like. It's 6%. If we're talking about 6% of the area would be underneath of here. I'm guessing if I had to make an estimate, maybe somewhere in the 40s. But thankfully, we don't have to make an estimate. We can use technology. So these questions also are a tad annoying because the StatCrunch button, the blue button's not there. They typically reserve the blue StatCrunch button for the pop out whenever we have data, which this isn't really like raw data. This is just talking about stuff. Let me make sure that my math lab's going to open. Okay, we were able to get StatCrunch up. Okay, so now we're going to go to stat, and we're going to go to calculator, and then we're going to go down to normal. And again, it's important that we remember this question is giving us the mean and the standard deviation. If it was a z-score, that's when we could leave the mean as 0 and the standard deviation as 1, but it's not z-scores. They want the actual number. They don't ask for a z-score. So we put the mean as 55, the standard deviation is 7, and then coming down to the next line in StatCrunch, we have an option to change less than or greater than. We have an option to put in what we want for our data value, and we also have an option to put in for what the area is. So for the percentile problems, again, they're giving us the area under the curve to the left. So since this percentile was 6, we will put 0.06 in for the space on StatCrunch where the area goes, which is the one all the way on the right-hand side. And we leave the space in the middle blank because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a number that we could find on the x-axis there. Okay, so if you click compute, it will tell us that the 6th percentile is 44 point, let's see, it says around at 2 decimal places. So I'll say 1, 2. We also can do this using our graphing calculator. If you remember, what we'll do for that one is actually we would use the distribution button, and then we would go to inverse normal and enter in the mean, the standard deviation. Still would put area to the left and put the area to the left as 0.06. And then that would also work to give us the 6th percentile. So again, I know this question is tricky for a number of reasons. I think mostly because when they say 6th percentile, you really have to kind of know that they're giving you the area under the curve, and they want you to find what the possible value would be for x, which is not always the most clear. So I hope this is helpful. Again, this was from 7.2, and yeah, please keep me posted on whatever questions you have. Thanks.